Right, Monday's show as Celtic progressed to the final four of the Premier Sports Cup. It was a derby victory, 4-0 against Partick Thistle, and our reward is another derby in the semi-finals at Hampden in early November against Rangers. Your reward today is Stevie being on. How are you feeling after that, Stevie?
I'm okay. I'm just waiting on you probably butting in and being cheeky.
No butting in today. No butting in at all, even though I just butted in.
Yeah, I felt okay after it. I mean, I did actually say, and there is proof, I'm sure, if you want to drag it up. I don't know if you do, but I was right. I did say we were going to win 4-0 today. And yeah, it was the result I expected, but the performance was a lot better, although I genuinely did feel it was a lot like a training exercise, and a couple of people that were at the game said the same thing, but job done really, wasn't it?
But I mean, like, you would have settled for a training exercise probably a couple of weeks ago, because it was, torture watching Celtic. We looked like we had, no ability to score goals. At least that's changed over the past three halves that we've played. What is it, 6 goals over those 3 halves? So at least there's something positive there to be taken. So just in terms of the team, and I'm going to try and do this off by heart. So it was Sinizalo, Donovan, Carter-Vickers, Scales, Tierney, McGregor, Hatate, Nygren, Yang, Tenekte, and Iheanacho. So a few changes. I think I read that was 4 changes from the Killie game in terms of the team that started. Didn't really feel like that when we got the team, because I think we were all looking at certain positions and not seeing changes and thinking, right, okay, what's going on there? There is a bit of a reason Brendan Rodgers has given that we'll get to, but just first of all, what was your thoughts when you saw that team, and especially that midfield staying the same again?
Yeah, initially, I won't lie, I was frustrated with it, as I'm sure you can attest to, because,
show the WhatsApp messages.
Nah,
we wouldn't do that.
Let's not do that. I was myself and a few others were quite annoyed at it, because I feel that's the type of game that, I'm going to say all due respect, but if you're a Partick Thistle fan, you won't care about that, because initially I did think we're going to walk over the top of them. So I thought with the level of quality between the sides, the golfing quality rather, I felt Celtic really should have been mixing it up a bit, especially getting into the game against Red Star, which is going to be really difficult. They've won 7 out of 7. They just won 2-1 against Partizan at the weekend too. They're looking very good just now, and I thought that he was maybe going to have one eye on that, because I think you can afford to when you've got a squad like we do, getting into a game against the Championship side. And I know they had one for the last 4, of course, getting into this match, but I think it was always going to be Celtic that were essentially going through today. And I really did feel that getting into that game, starting Bernardo and Engels would have been beneficial. I would have been like to have seen just something different for this type of match. And when I did see that midfield 3, again, I thought to myself, it's been so uninspiring and flat in the last couple of weeks. And even if they do the business today, we're not going to learn a lot. I felt as if we could have maybe learned something seeing Bernardo, because it's always the case, isn't it? Players don't play for a while, Hamish, and they're automatically maybe better. We've seen it before in the past, haven't we, with players that have been out the team, and then as soon as they come back in, and that's usually when you see that's why they've been out the team for so long. But I think with Bernardo, he hasn't really been given that a chance this season, and I'd like to have seen him play today. Same way Engels too, give him something to prove. But the manager went with the same 3 again, and then when you flip it, you look at that performance really in the first half, it was very routine, very comfortable, and they didn't need to go out of first gear at all for it really. So in the end, I guess it was justified. But I think if he did play a different midfield 3, we would probably get the same type of result as well.
It's interesting because, like, before that second leg against Kairat, and I know that was like definitely a more important game than the game in Belgrade that's coming up in terms of everything that was riding on that game in Kazakhstan. But he did make loads of changes prior to that for, I think, Livingston. We played in the league, and he changed virtually the whole team. I think he changed like the entire midfield that day and rested a lot of players. And I think the feeling was, as you say, with this being a cup game against lower league opposition, that this was like the perfect opportunity to do that. And I did expect to see a number of changes in that team, especially in the kind of spine of the team. and we didn't really get that. Now, Brendan Rodgers is clearly aware of this being a bit of a talking point because he brought it up post-match. He actually wasn't asked about it. He brought it up himself in one of his answers, and he said, and this is via the Celtic way, by the way, he said, people may be looking and thinking, well, why do you not make more changes? But actually, a lot of the players haven't been playing so much. If you think of the international break, a lot of the players, sometimes that went on international duty, didn't get a lot of game time. So if they didn't play today, it could have been a long time before they played. And I thought the midfield was better today. Like, I thought Nygren, did he get a couple of assists? Looked more lively. I thought Hatate actually had a pretty good game, a number of good passes. Still the odd wee thing from him. Callum McGregor, was a bit better. So I did think that midfield was better, but clearly Wednesday night's a much bigger, like a total different world, isn't it? Cervenas Vesta compared to Partick Thistle. But what did you think of the performance generally against Thistle?
As I expected, though, very routine. I thought for the first maybe 20 minutes or so, thought Thistle were quite resilient, keeping us at bay, and it was mostly long-range shots. I did actually expect us to create a lot more opportunities, but I think the main man was Taneke. I thought he was excellent again today, and every time he got the ball, I think it was the boy Carrie Logan, wasn't it, at right back, and yeah, he just couldn't handle him. No, honestly, for the first maybe 20 minutes or so, again, I think Thistle defended all right, but it was a case of getting that first goal, and as soon as we got that, you knew it was game over, really. I don't think Thistle were ever going to be coming out, having a go and committing too many bodies forward. I think the fact that we've just got so many players there that can break at pace and get in behind and probably get a quick fire second would have been too much for them, and then we actually did it again through another set piece, another corner. I thought the keeper was really questionable, but yeah, I think never mind going 2-0 up at half time. As soon as we got the first goal, I was saying to myself, well, that's it, job done. And it was quite weird as well, because when the goal went in, no one even celebrated it. No one knew it happened. A couple of people I knew who were at the game said that they thought the ball had hit the side netting and didn't actually celebrate it. But
Yang didn't celebrate either, and it's a little bit of a bugbear. We're going back to remember the cup final against Aberdeen when we scored, I think it was an own goal, but no one celebrated it, and that was the thing. I think because when I first saw it, I did think that's in, but then Yang didn't celebrate at all. It was actually, I think, Ian Atchell kind of going to him that was when I and everyone else kind of realised that's in. But it was, in terms of bizarre Celtic goals, that's right up there. I don't think I've ever kind of witnessed that.
Yeah, and it's maybe a testament to the game itself. Like, people were going to expecting that to be a win anyway, Hamish. So yeah, I think as soon as we got the first goal, that was it. Game over, really. You knew the Thistle heads were down, and we got the second 2 minutes later through Scales, and that was it, really. But the game went exactly how I thought it would. Both halves went exactly as I thought it would as well. And what I did like from it was the fact that we came out in the second half and we got that quick goal as well. Like, there was none of this ponderous play and letting the other team back in it. It was actually a case of just putting them right to the sword and ending it effectively 3-0. And that was my favourite goal of the game. I thought Taneki's goal was a really good move. Him and Iheanacho combined really well. Cracking finish too. Good to see him getting off the mark so quickly as well. So it was, because I think he's deserved that goal in these last couple of performances. I think I'm quite excited though to see him on Wednesday, because this is a real step up, isn't it? Because he's been up against, that's been Logan today, and up against Brown again for Kilmarnock. But he's going to be up against a much higher calibre player on Wednesday. So it's going to be exciting to see how he's going to do, how his attitude's going to be, and how essentially he can lift others round about him, because we're going to need a real out ball on Wednesday night, and he can really be key for us. So he can. Sorry, can I just say, it's going to slightly remind me of, remember Jota against Betis 4-3 game? He was exceptional. Okay, we get beat in that match, but it was a really entertaining game. But I remember watching that game, right, when Jota made his debut against Ross County, 3-0 win, and I said to myself, he was okay, but let's see how he does at a higher calibre. And then he went to Betis, and he was outstanding, and that's when you came back from it going, this guy's a player for us, and he's going to be a star. Maybe it'll be the same for Taneke on Wednesday.
I agree. I mean, I feel slightly differently about Tenecti. I think Tenecti's got a bit more pace to his game, and I think that might be even more of a threat possibly than Jota. I just think like I'm actually really excited to see him, because you think of that space he's going to get to run into. They're going to come out and try and win the game. Clearly, there's going to be space for us to run into, and he looks quick. He looks so direct. I mean, we've had a number of players over the years. You'll know better than me, probably. Players who have made really fast starts. I'm thinking like Kyogo and Scott Sinclair and a number of other players. But like what we're seeing from Tenecti, albeit only after 2 games, is right up there for me. Like I think coming into like a struggling Celtic team that was struggling to create chances and all of this kind of stuff that's going around the club and must be seeping into what the players are doing, even though they'll try and pretend it doesn't. He's just like come right in and been like a total breath of fresh air, and like I'm loving watching him. Like I mean, I just thought he was excellent. Again, I just thought every single thing that we did in that game that was good, virtually, when he was on the park anyway, he was involved in it. And like I felt there was kind of more to his game as well. Like maybe against Kelly, it was more just about his dribbling. I felt he was having nice wee passes today and neat bits of play. And I think it was important him getting a goal as well, because that's the thing people are going to talk about his end product. And to be honest, I think it is pretty harsh, because you judge players on what they do for Celtic. And you look at the Kelly game, he could have had 2 or 3 assists if players had finished off the moves. And again, a number of really good passes in the Thistle game, and he gets his goal. So, God, you're always trying to kind of temper expectations, aren't you? Not get, just like you don't get too down on a player if they've maybe struggled a bit at the start, like Balikwisha. Don't get too high on a player who's doing well, but it's hard not to. Like, he's massively exciting for me.
As you always say, Hamish, like that's the whole point of football fans, isn't it? To get carried away sometimes. Like it's something you repeat on here quite a lot, but it's right. I mean, it's okay to go over the top and be hyped up. Again, you can be realistic too, maybe an hour or so later, but during the game and getting carried away is what it all is about as a football fan. But I'm all about that way tonight, and I must admit, I think he was caught up in the overall negativity when he was signed on that transfer deadline day, and I'll put my hands up too. I remember reading the Hammerby forums, and I remember reading that maybe we had overpaid, and a few Hammerby fans were quite surprised at the fee. But then I'm starting to wonder, and I said it to Rizzo as well, that maybe he was actually a really good player in a team that dragged him down a bit for Hammerby, and that's why maybe his numbers weren't as impressive, or they weren't as great as what they could have been. Yeah. And maybe he'll start to show that promise here. So that's another way to look at it. But yeah, overall, I think I was guilty of getting caught up in the general negativity surrounding the club on that transfer deadline day when he was brought in, and it wasn't his fault. It could have been any player, Hamish. Anybody could have been coming through the door, and he would have been getting both barrels for me that day, because I was obviously scunnered after the Kairat Almaty game and the way that we responded in that transfer window. But yeah, to be completely fair to Celtic, whose recruitment is questionable in the last 10, 15 years or so, I think they've got this one right with Tenecti, and I don't think we'll be looking back on it and saying, oh God, we went over the top there, didn't we? I think he will fulfil the promise that he's shown so far. Quite sure of it.
Yeah. I mean, he was only at Hammerby for 6 months, so I wonder if we've just got a guy who has kind of finally found it maybe over the last year of his career. Because I think if you go back maybe a year or just over that, I think he was maybe in the kind of lower tier of Norwegian football, and he's just seems to be in this real sharp ascent, and maybe we're just about to get that for however long. So really exciting, but we have to caveat everything positive we've said there by saying, imagine you'd have got him in a fortnight earlier, or maybe 3 or 4 weeks earlier, and had him for that Kairat tie. And again, it's totally unforgivable for me that you sign him at the end of the window. We could have had him in a month in advance, and we're quite possibly playing Champions League football. Like, I do think he would have made a huge difference, not just like himself, but I don't think it's any coincidence that you've maybe started to see other players just playing a bit better as well. As I've said a number of times, I always go back to Jeremy Frimpong. I think it just takes one player sometimes just to shine, and he kind of brings everyone on that journey with him. So, very good stuff. I thought it was a good performance in the game. Kind of sticky pitch, wasn't it? I felt that hindered us at times, but also I think it helped us at times because we were able to play that ball in behind, and it kind of held up a bit in the pitch. Iheanacho, maybe relatively quiet. I'd want to see him involved a bit more, but I thought we started to see bits of quality as well. I had a couple of nice layoffs, including for Tenekte. What do you make of Iheanacho in the game?
Like you said, I think you're still looking for more. But what I will say is the hold-up play was notably a massive improvement on what we've had already this season, like compared to Adam Ida, for example. And even just a couple of times with the first touch where the ball actually stuck to his feet and didn't go rolling out the pitch. So that was good. That was actually genuinely good to see, and it's always a big help when I'm watching these games and I'm not losing the plot or anything. That's a massive thing for myself, Hamish, and obviously Adam Ida was frustrating the life out of me at times this season, so I've not had it so far with Iheanacho, which is great. Again, as I say, that we assist for the Tenekte's goal. Very, very impressive. But you were talking about the pitch in general, and this might have been just my TV or the fact that it was just so bright. And I said to a couple of people during it, like I was struggling to see at times just when the ball was over the far end. I could hardly tell with the state of the pitch. Of course, I was watching it through very legal means, so the quality of the picture wasn't obviously wonderful or anything. But I mean, that's Tenekte and Iheanacho now have both sides of the extreme, haven't we, with the pitch now? They've played in that horrible surface at Killie in the rain, and then let this sticky one at Firhill today where the ball was like being held up a lot. So hopefully the one in Belgrade is a lot more improved for the players.
I wonder if Thistle would let the grass grow a bit longer. I need to go back and watch things properly, but it was I noticed it right away that it was just a very sticky kind of pitch. Kieran Tierney played the full game, didn't he? Which is unusual. I guess that's the first time he's probably done that since he came back to the club. And there's some interesting comments here from Brendan Rodgers after the game. Psychologically, I felt it was important for him. He hasn't played 90 in a long, long time, but for him just to push himself to get over the hill was very important. And yes, I thought he was, especially in the first half. The combination play with him and Sebastian on that side was outstanding. Also on Kieran Tierney, Brendan Rodgers says he's gone through a lot, not just physically but mentally. There's a stress on a player that you can never understand unless you've had really bad injuries and what that does to you, and when it makes you think about whenever you're pushing yourself. And when you're young and fresh and haven't got many injuries, then you're just free and you're 100%. When you know that you've been out for maybe periods of time, it can psychologically hurt you, but he's getting over all that, and it's just every day getting better and improving, and today it's good for him to get the 90 minutes. Now, this is one of these rare moments when I feel I can offer something insightful on professional football matters, even though it wasn't professional for me. But I've said this previously, a number of years ago, I tore my hamstring. I'd never really had injuries before, and I tore my hamstring really badly, was missing from football for months, and I never got back to a level where I felt I could properly sprint, because I always, the minute I was anything close to 100%, even 90%, I just had this thing in the back of my mind of this could go at any point, and I could experience that pain again. And it's really tough to get over that. So it is a psychological thing, and I just wonder if, well, clearly if Brendan Rodgers is talking about it, that is a bit of what's going on with Kieran Tierney. And I think a lot of us have seen that as well. There's been a couple of moments in recent games, maybe before the international break, where it's just felt like he's not been the kind of full 100% Kieran Tierney that we know from the past. And obviously we need that. So do you think he's maybe starting to get there? I thought he was pretty good in the game and playing the 90 minutes, but it's a tough one, that, because he has had so many injuries. It has to be on his mind.
Yeah, he's been playing in bursts, hasn't he? And he's had a good first half here, really good spell in the second half there, but we've been waiting to see the real definitive Kieran Tierney performance. Now, I don't want to burst MD's bubble. I don't think that was it today. I think it was a comfortable performance, but it wasn't the real star-studded Kieran Tierney experience that we have seen so often when he's in the hoops. So maybe we'll get that on Wednesday. But again, that's going to be a really high intensity game, and I don't know if he'll be able to manage the 90 minutes. I would expect to see like Sriracha coming in from like maybe 70 minutes onwards for that. But domestically, it's a good thing. And again, that will help his mindset. Maybe we can realistically look for like a 90 minutes against Hibs at Celtic Park. Hopefully, that's a game that we're maybe a couple of goals up. I know that I've not been flipping. I know it's going to be a tough game, by the way. But, if we are leading and then get into the second half, 60 minutes, and it is comfortable, hopefully we'll be able to maybe see Kieran Tierney complete a full game there. Because if he was able to do that against Partick Thistle, that's good for the mentality. But if he can do that at Celtic Park against a Premiership team and just keep building on the levels, and then after that maybe look to complete like a European game now, just in stages and tiers, and then when he gets to completes a European game in 90 minutes, that will do all sorts again for his napper. So yeah, that's maybe where he's got to. Well, you're laughing at because I said napper.
Napper, very funny. Not heard that
I
in
heard it.
years.
I heard it today, and I thought to myself, I'm going to use that. But
Napa
yeah.
Valley.
Iron Napper, brilliant. No, genuinely, yeah, that's good. That's one box ticked off, but a couple more to go, and hopefully we'll be able to see the Kieran Tierney of old again. And before you want to move on, by the way, I've seen you sprinting before, so you're talking absolute nonsense.
To Greg's. What's the punchline here?
As we say when that pub was shutting and you're running the bar. Brilliant. Just an example of the last we have on here, isn't it?
Yeah, dear. It was. I won't go back into it, but it was horrendous. Like you've got it in the back of your mind the whole time when you're sprinting. So, God, it's a part of kind of football, I guess, as fans we don't really realise. You just think, you've had an injury, get over it, get back. But hopefully, KT's getting there. Brendan Rodgers certainly feels it was a big moment, him playing that full game. We just briefly, I thought Cameron Carter-Vickers struggled a bit. Just a bit of an off game, wasn't it? Got caught in possession a few times. To be honest, I thought Liam Scales was poor as well. So those two, assuming they're going to play in Belgrade, they'll need to sort that out.
I mean, again, those first 20, 25 minutes, I did say that, like, I was questioning even before the game going, does CCV really need to be playing this today? Like, again, building up his fitness ahead of an important game in midweek, fine. Did he need to play the full match? Like, I thought maybe that was a game for like maybe Dane Murray to be coming in for. I want to see more of Dane Murray as well. So I'm saying that on a selfish level. But again, Brendan Rodgers doesn't really put a team out based on my feelings. He would want to just go through the next round. But no, I'd have wanted to see Dane Murray in that type of game today, and you learn more about the players in the type of cup games rather than the home ones, you know what I mean, where we're fully expecting to win. That's slightly trickier for footballers like in his position. So a small criticism in that respect, but again, it's not like the two of them. Well, let's see if he can through with any major injuries or that, is it?
No Jemai Simpson-Pusey, I don't think in the squad. There's a kind of few players I think that are in danger of being completely frozen out here. I mean, Inamura, Simpson-Pusey, Yamada, and there's probably a few other ones as well. So it's, but maybe in the grand scheme of things, we've got bigger kind of things to worry about. Anthony Ralston apparently back in training today. That's the plan. So I wonder if he'll come back in for Belgrade. I think if he's fit enough to properly play, my feeling would be that he probably would come back in. I like Colby Donovan though. I think he's got lots of his game to work on, but I don't know. For me, if it was a choice between Donovan and Ralston right now, I think Donovan potentially has more to his game, or certainly has more potential, and it makes more sense for me to go with him. I think he's better going forward, and I think there's more of an upside there. I really like Colby Donovan. I think he's made a pretty good start. Was there anything else on the game at all, Stevie?
I think just again Benjamin Negrin for the first 20 odd minutes was just floating about. It wasn't making much of an impact and frustrating myself and other people when I was speaking. And then out of nowhere, he's got 2 assists, set up the both goals in the first half. And I think that's going to be a real, that's going to be like the pattern you're going to see from Negron, I think, this season. Like the times when he's floating in a game, not doing much, and then he'll contribute something out of absolutely nothing. And by the end of the season, like, I don't think he is going to be like the standout performer of the season or that for us in the team, especially with like Taneki's arrival, for example. But I think he'll still be a player that when you look back on it, you'll be looking at the stats going like raising an eyebrow on her. Double figures goals maybe, and the same way assists. And I think it's maybe the reason for that is when you see Negrin, he doesn't seem to control or dominate games. I've not seen one game where he's done that yet, but at the same time, he's really offered a lot to the team, and he's contributed to the end result when it comes to the performance. So yeah, it's a strange one for me, but that's all I've really got to say. And again, nothing else was really.
Yeah, job done. I thought it was an improvement. I think the point I would make is that like Brendan Rodgers has clearly kind of steadied the ship a bit here. I think there was a fear after, you know, everything that happened with the way we were playing on the pitch, Kyra, Ibrox, the transfer window, the club statement, that Dies and Maida stuff, Yang stuff. I think there was a bit of a fear that this could rapidly, go really badly for us. And we've beaten Kelly with a last minute goal, and we've beaten a lower league team. So I'm not saying everything's perfect, but I do think there's maybe just signs that Brendan Rodgers has steadied the ship and we can now move forward. Having said that, as we keep saying, I think Wednesday is a huge challenge. We'll discuss that just briefly. Just the draw was made, Stevie, for the semi-final. Rangers, November the 1st or 2nd, Motherwell versus Hibs in the other game. Without knowing for sure, probably be the Sunday they'll give us against Rangers. I feel like they normally do that when the pitch is all chewed up. Well, Motherwell St Mirren, will that be at Hampden for sure? I think they always play them at Hampden now, don't they? But
It has to be.
Who cares? Anyway, it's all about the other game, which is Rangers, so we'll see how that one goes. How are you feeling about Wednesday night? As we keep saying, it's going to be tough. Cervena Zvezda, they just won the Eternal Derby 2-1 against Partizan. They're on a really good run there. As much as they went out of Champions League qualifying to Paphos, they are doing really well domestically. They score a lot of goals. We're away from home. It's going to be a big crowd there. That's a kind of Champions League level game, dare I say it. It's a tough match.
Is that what it's called, the Eternal Derby?
Yes.
That's brilliant. That's an amazing name for a derby. You're not winding me up now.
No, I'm sure I looked it up. Eternal Derby. I'm not even going to check. I'm not even going to doubt myself. It's the Eternal Derby.
Okay, I like that one. That's brilliant. That's a tough game. I mean, yeah, as I said earlier, did a very, very mild research, and that's 7 wins out of 7, and they've kind of had the same type of season as us, haven't they? Like, it was quite an embarrassing exit for the Champions League for a team like them, but they really have bounced back. But they'll be looking at us and they'll be like, well, Celtic are apparently having this nightmare season, and the fans are against the board. There's protests and demos every week, and they're not as strong as they once were. But they'll be looking at us going, well, they've only conceded 1 goal in the league this season, 2 pretty much in all competitions, really, isn't it? So they'll be looking at us going, well, I don't understand why they're having a nightmare. But yeah, I think it is going to be a really difficult game against them. Forget that result yesterday, and that's away from home. They've battered teams, like they won 7-1 in their last home game. They've beaten a team 5-1-2. They beat a team 4-1. So they've been very convincing. Like, it seems like when they've been playing, it's not just a case of struggling over the line. Like, they have been sprinting over it. They have been hammering teams. And yeah, I think we'll have to be at our absolute best to get a result. It's strange though. I mean, if this was a Champions League game, like, you probably would be getting into that thinking, we're for it here, we're done for. But Europa League's weird. Sometimes it just throws up some really crazy results. And Thursday night, it's like when you're looking at, I'm not talking about Celtic, but when you look at other sides in the Europa League against the heavier fancy teams, it's almost like the heavier fancy teams just tear their eye off the ball when there's a daft result and there's a slip up, and yeah, it's always like very chaotic, isn't it? I kind of see the Europa League, if you're ever looking at teams to keep an eye on and look for results. It's kind of like the English Championship, where you just can't predict it at times. That the team who are favourites should be hammering the side who are playing, who are less fancy, but it doesn't work out that way. So hopefully, that kind of goes in our favour on Wednesday. But and make no mistake about it at all, it's a really, really difficult game, and I expect him to have a lot of the ball. I expect him to dominate. Expect him to put us under a lot of pressure, which is why guys like Taneki are going to be so key for us. We're going to need somebody who can hold the ball up, be a real out ball, and be a real creative spark for us in that game, because we might just get like one moment of magic and we've got to take it, really.
We have been pretty good away from home over the past year in Europe. Clean sheet, it was away to Atalanta, wasn't it? That was the one that kicked us off. We got a clean sheet in that game, clean sheet away to Zagreb. Okay, Villa, we got off to a bit of a disaster start. Munich, you're 30 seconds away from a clean sheet, and even in Kazakhstan we didn't concede or even look like conceding, really. So that's one thing I would cling on to, that the team have looked pretty resolute since that Dortmund game last year, about this time last year. And maybe now I don't think there's a maybe about it. We do have more attacking threats than we did a few weeks ago. As we said, Tenekti, Dyson will be back in and, fresh and ready to go. Don't know who you'll go with on the other side. Whether Balikwisha will maybe start, I'm not sure. We'll wait and see there. But yeah, it's going to be tough. But if we can come away with a draw, I think that'd be a really good start. I think this is potentially, maybe our third toughest match, maybe after Roma and Feyenoord. Just thinking of all our Bologna as well.
Bologna's tough.
To be fair, I'd agree with that. I think Belgrade and Bologna are fairly similar. I think Belgrade were in the Champions League last year and finished similar to Bologna. So it's tough matches, but we'll see how we get on. Support for today's show is brought to you by Practical CBT. Just like the Hoops, put in the work on the park. They'll help you put in the work on your mental well-being. Quick online workouts, coaching and support for men, and up to 33% off for you as a Celtic AM viewer or listener. Just check out the link in the notes. Just before we go, Stevie, we have spoken about the football on the pitch. But fan protests in the stands continued yesterday, organised and being run by the Celtic Fans Collective, a new fan representative body. A pre-match display with images of Chris Mackay, Peter Lawwell and Michael Nicholson was organised. We also had another display highlighting our Champions League qualifying failures over the past couple of decades. So the Celtic Fans Collective is a new representative body that's been created. Mission statement: the Celtic Fans Collective exists to unite supporters through a representative body that advocates for the interests of Celtic fans. We strive to ensure that Celtic Football Club operates with transparency, accountability and ambition aligned with the values and aspirations of its supporters. The overarching aims to modernise the governance and strategic direction of Celtic Football Club by ensuring a clear vision that reflects the ambitions of the support, a transparent and respectful relationship between the club and its supporters, and corporate governance standards befitting an organisation of Celtic scale and reputation. In terms of values, you're talking democracy, integrity, ambition and independence. There's plenty of objectives there, including, obtaining answers from the board and credible ones. Forcing change, looking for the removal of Nicholson, Lawwell and Mackay. Exposing failures of non-executive directors. Talk about a fan advisory board at Celtic and going for that, and to create a democratic fan movement to represent our collective positions and hold the board to account. There's also been a steering group that's been set up after the meeting at Grace's in Glasgow. Was it last week or the week before? So you can see there who's involved. There's Celtic Supporters Association. There's loads of other ones, including someone from the Celtic Trust, the Green Brigade, Boys Celtic, North Curve. There's 3 fan media as well, and 10 Celtic supporters clubs from Scotland, England, and Ireland. So that's just a wee bit of a flavour. I think, you know, we're both involved in this to an extent. We're not on the steering group or anything like that, but we're involved in keeping an eye on what's happening. And this is going to continue, Stevie. I think the message is very clear. Back the team, and the Celtic support did that. But success on the pitch, if you call success beating Partick Thistle, shouldn't take away from the frustrations that we still feel towards the board.
Yeah, and you summed it up perfectly when you talked about how we're, you know, thrilled at the likes of Tanecki being outstanding today. But if the board did their job and Celtic weren't so reactive, and, you know, they were proactive for once, we could have got him in the door and we could have been looking forward to Champions League football. Instead, they gambled with it when the fans were crying out for more signings and more creativity and just more strength in numbers for the guys in the pitch. We never got that, and this is why, you know, this collective group has been formed. So yeah, it's not done in a negative fashion. It's not done to harm anyone. It's been done, you know, so that Celtic can be held to account, hopefully, and
it can be better, basically.
Exactly,
yeah.
Strive for improvement, and I don't want to have a negative sort of view of Celtic all the time. I understand that maybe I have been on here and have been a wee bit down about us, and hopefully that can change in the coming months. You know, when I do see some serious change at Celtic, that would go a long way for it. But yeah, I don't think it's going to go away anytime soon. Bit gutted that I can't be involved for the Hibs game, because that's going to be the real acid test, isn't it? Because we've had a few away games now, and obviously there's been protests, but the Hibs one's going to be very interesting, and obviously we've got a wedding on that day. So yeah, it'll be very interesting to see how that is. But aye, as you say, Hamish, it's going nowhere. Just now, there's a really good show of support from Celtic fans today, and understand that people might watch the channel a bit like me, sick of the all-round negativity, and think this adds to it. But as far as I can see, it's a positive thing, and long term, I'm really hoping that it changes the views and it changes the general operation that Celtic are, and they just modernise. And again, we can look at this as a real turning point more than anything.
Hopefully, yeah, 100% back the team, but hold those in powerful positions at the club to account, because it's not been good enough off the park. But yes, we'll keep back in the team, and a positive win for Celtic. Off to your bed, Stevie. Appreciate you staying up as always. Thanks everyone for watching, and I'll return tomorrow, and we'll start to properly look ahead to Wednesday night.